Good morning everybody, and welcome to my video blog from Strasbourg. We are here in Strasbourg this week. As you know, you've all been hearing an awful lot about the Eurozone crisis. I have to say it's an interesting time to be an MEP in the UK, having had many months where very difficult sometimes to engage people's interest in what's happening in the European Parliament. We're now in the position where everybody wants to know what's going on in terms of the Eurozone crisis. And of course it's always interesting because the Parliament, we carry on doing the work that we're doing, and we have a whole session of voting for 3 days this week, and not one of those votes, you'll be interested to know, is anything to do with the Eurozone crisis. And that's because the European Parliament has very little role in this whole negotiation. It's really a member states, Commission, European Central Bank and IMF issue. So when people talk to me about what's going to happen to Greece, very happy to get my crystal ball out, but it's not always as clear as it might be, and what I say is really my opinion. So where we are now, what's going to happen with Greece? It is my opinion that Greece will leave the Eurozone. I think it will happen sooner rather than later, not long after the elections, the second set of elections that they're due to have in June. It seems highly unlikely to me that there'll be a huge change in the views and the sentiments of the Greek people, and that they'll suddenly vote for austerity and to stick with the deal that was done with the troika of the IMF, ECB and European Commission. It seems highly likely that they will continue, as their polls suggest, to reject that point of view. But you know, they can't have their cake and eat it. And what they want to do is to reject the European Union IMF approach, but still be supported to stay in the Eurozone. So how is that going to work? How is that fair on everyone else in the EU? Look at the UK. We have got a severe austerity programme, which I fully support. But why should we be going through this when the Greeks are not? And some of our money supports them, particularly via the extra £10 billion put into the IMF by our Chancellor only last month. So we really have to think very carefully. I have no intention at all of putting down the Greek people. I really feel for them, and some of the things that we see coming from Athens and talking to Greek colleagues here are truly tragic in terms of the way it's affecting their society. But we can't let that affect the rest of the Eurozone, because so much of our business depends on working with a healthy and growing GDP in Europe. And if we don't have that, then I can only see clouds on the horizon. So from my point of view, I think Greece does need to exit the Eurozone, do it quickly, and we need to put our efforts in Europe into making sure that contagion doesn't spread. So I hope that the new French president will take that on board. I don't think he watches my video blog, but nevertheless, it's not a unique view, it's one expressed by very many people, including Chancellor Merkel, so let's hope he's listening. So what else is happening? We have a big vote this week here on something called a financial transaction tax, which many of you will have heard of. This is effectively, it does two things. It taxes the city. 80% of financial transactions go through the UK, so it's very punitive on us as a member state. And of course we object and will vote against it on that basis. But as you might imagine, there's a whole lot of other people in the Parliament who'll be voting for it on that basis. So we'll be against it. It also creates a precedent of giving the European Commission what's known as own resources. That means direct taxation, which goes to the Commission, not via a member state. To me, this is absolutely a red line, and one that we simply should not cross. So we'll be voting on that later today, and I look forward to putting in my newsletter how we get on with that vote. Finally, before I close, I'd just like to talk a little bit about the work I've been doing back in the constituency in the last week. The round of agricultural shows has started, and I went last week to Devon, to the Devon show, attended a couple of panels, including one on general farming issues with the CLA, met the president of the show and had lunch. It was a wonderful day, and I saw an awful lot of the agricultural animal classes. Saw some marvellous Dartmoor sheep and some Devon shorthorns, all winning prizes. And you'll be able to see plenty of pictures of that on my website. But I'd just like to say how much I enjoy supporting agriculture across the southwest. I'm delighted now that I'm a full member of the Agriculture Committee, and I can really put my time and effort into supporting farmers, into supporting sensible and especially sustainable food growth, and into supporting the environment. So I look forward to a lot more work on that, and I'll be reporting back to you in the future. So from Strasbourg, nice to see you, keep watching, and I'll speak to you again next month.